Hello, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a little bit different. Recently, a company called Dehancer reached out to me and they asked if I wanted to try the plugin for a month. And, I told them I've already been using it inside Resolve for about a year now. Absolutely love it, but I would love to try it inside Premiere and Lightroom. So I'm actually going to be doing a two-part series, one in Premiere and one in Lightroom, to basically show you guys the plugin and give you my thoughts on it. I do a lot of client work inside Premiere, so just having the ability to potentially be able to do some simple color grades and especially film emulation inside Premiere gets me stoked. So yeah, let's dive in and see what it's like inside Premiere. We are inside Premiere right now, and this is some recent footage that I shot. Well, not so recent. I shot this in Paris last summer. And I thought it was perfect to kind of play with this plugin because I actually graded the final video, which is on my YouTube channel now, inside Resolve with Dehancer, and absolutely love the way the grade turned out. So I'm basically just gonna play with it inside Premiere and kind of see if I can get the same sort of results. I'm not going to do any power windows and things like that like I did inside Resolve, but this will give us a good idea of the capabilities and things like that inside Premiere. Okay, so here we are. So the first thing to note, you definitely want to go up to sequence settings here, and you want to make sure that maximum bit depth is checked and maximum render quality is checked, because if we go back here to their settings, it says sequence settings for Premiere. It recommends a working color space of Rec 709, maximum bit depth checked, and maximum render quality checked. So sweet, we're there. Let's lock in and see what this is about. So first shot, I'm going to go and play this one, just a slow-mo shot of the Eiffel Tower down a street. Looks like I may have some lumetry on here already, doing the white balance exposure, or white balance. I'm actually going to delete that. And so the way you apply Dehancer is you can go into your effects tab here, type in Dehancer, and there it is under Video Effects, Film Emulation, Dehancer Pro. We're just going to drag that on, and instantly we're met with some sort of film emulation thing going on here. And in the effects control here, we can see Dehancer Pro. And this is where we're going to start to change settings and kind of get the look that we want to get. So I filmed this on a Sony EV-Z1. So the cool thing about Dehancer is we don't really need to apply a Rec 709 LUT to convert our flat picture style. We can click input, go down to source, and choose camera. And if we scroll down, go all the way down to Sony ZV-E1, and I shot this in S-Log3 S-Gamut 3.cine. So that is the picture style I shot in. So that is why I'm going to select this and convert this to a Rec 709 space, and boom, there we go. It's already got that contrast and a little bit of saturation added back in. So right now it's on. If you go down here, we can then go down to film. Looks like it's set to Kodak Vision 3250D. If we enable that, disable that, you can see that it's already given it a little bit of a look. And for this one, they got all sorts of different ones. They got a Raleigh CN200, Kodak Ultramax 400. You can really go down and kind of choose the look you kind of want to start with. This is obviously more of a pink tone with that one. But for this one, Yeah, let's try Kodak Vision 350D and kind of see the results we can get from that. Then we can go down to Film Developer here. We want to click Enable, and we can boost the color, we can boost the contrast. So I'm actually gonna, boost the contrast a little bit. Get those shadows and dark tones a little bit darker. Color boost, I'm gonna leave disabled for now because there's a cool tool right here. If we go down to film compression, that's color density. And this is very similar to like a saturation or color boost, but instead of like bringing up the exposure while you're adding in saturation, it just kind of makes the color deeper and richer without actually adding exposure to it. So I'm actually going to enable that, and the color density is at 50 right now, and I want to boost that up to 100. Okay, so that did a little bit, but not as much as I'm looking for. So I'm actually going to go back up to the color boost here and shoot that up, and boom, we're getting some nice saturation in there. And if we just disable and enable that, we can just see how much of a change we've already gotten from that. White point is another cool one. So as you can see, if I shift this higher, it's actually going to change the white point a little bit, make it a little bit darker behind the Eiffel Tower, but I want that pretty white, but I still want to get those texture details in the cloud. Okay, that's looking pretty sweet. Let's go down to expand, black point. Ooh, yeah, that's just gonna not really do what I want it to do. So I'm actually just gonna disable that for now. Print, now print's an interesting one because with this, the profile, you can choose kind of like a print that you want to do. Like for instance, Kodak 2383 print film. That's like really similar to what all the Hollywood movies and stuff are doing like that. So if you add that, that instantly just boosts the contrast quite a bit. But for the look that I'm going for, I don't really want that look right now. So I'm just going to keep it on linear. And I'm going to go down to film grain here. Because if you can see right now, we're getting some pretty big film grain happening here. And I don't necessarily want it that big. I want some film grain and texture in the picture, but I don't want it that big and that quite noticeable. So I'm going to drop the size down to 1 actually. Leave the amount at 35. Let's see what we're working with. Let's see if we can play this back. So we're getting some good grain here. Let's go into the next clip here. Scroll down. Let's see if I just bring that down. Let's bring that down to 25. I don't want it too crazy, but I do still want a vintage look to it. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Halation. Now this is a really cool one. So if we just enable that, you can see it's already bringing some red tones in. And essentially what this does is it adds halation, and I'll bring up a definition here on the screen so you guys can read about it. But this has become super popular on Instagram Reels right now, on YouTube videos. And to be honest, I think it's being overused quite a bit at the moment. I think people are getting a little crazy with it. That's just my personal opinion. I think it's good to add halation, but to a certain extent. You don't want this to just be a ton of red in the edges of your textures and stuff like that. So if I go to custom here, so let's just bring this all the way up and see how crazy this gets. If I bring the impact to 100, global diffusion all the way up, you can really see what this halation is doing. It's bringing those really filmic look into the footage here, but this is a little much here. And believe it or not, people will actually export videos like this and post them, and people will be like, holy crap, this looks amazing. And that's cool, you know, to each their own style. For me, that is not the way I want my image to look. So I'm going to bring this global diffusion down quite a bit because I still want a little halation, but I don't want anything crazy. Let's see how that's looking. So we're still getting quite a bit of red tones in there. That's a little too much for my liking. So I'm going to bring it down. Impact, let's go 38, see what we're doing. So we still got a little bit of halation here. And yeah, it's looking okay, but it's not too much. You can see halation and the sign here. Yeah, not bad, not bad. So then this is another cool filmic thing that we can do here. It's called bloom. And if we enable that, you can see if I enable, disable, it's almost like adding another layer of a black promise filter on your camera. And if you're unfamiliar with a black promise filter, kind of just creates a bloom effect, a more dreamy effect to your footage. And I already shot this footage with a black promise. I think it was a quarter filter on here. So I've already got a little bit of a bloom going on, but I do like to add a little bit more, make it feel a little bit more dreamy. And I'll usually set this to custom, and I think, yeah, it looks pretty good like this. I may bring down the impact a bit. Let's bring it down to, let's say 28, just so it's not as intense. So, all right, that's looking pretty good there. Nice. And then there's a bunch of other effects here. We got film damage, we got film breath, we've got gate weave, overscan, vignette. There is so many ways that you can basically make this look like film. I mean, it's amazing, this plugin, that you don't even have to shoot on film. You can shoot on a Arri Alexa, for instance, get amazing quality, amazing dynamic range, and then add this plugin, and you honestly, it'd be hard at times to tell the difference between film and digital. So here's just a basic look of how this is looking. Let's disable the Dehancer and see what we started with. So that is a pretty huge difference. And yeah, I'm kind of liking it. I would like to get a little more details in those highlights. Something I did in Resolve when I edited this original video was I, took the eyedropper tool and kind of selected these white clouds and dropped down the exposure here. And I've already got white point kind of there. Kind of want to see, I do kind of want a little bit more color in here. So I may boost up the color a bit, like there. Okay, that's looking good. Nice temperature. If we bring that down, what is that looking like? Ooh, that's too cool. Yeah, let's go -12 because I do want it a little cooler. These buildings were looking a little too warm for my liking. And let's play this back and see how this is looking. Nice. So you notice we are getting a little bit of lag with the plugin. And to be honest, I will say it is a lot smoother playback than on Resolve. When I add the Dehancer plugin in Resolve, I am getting very, very, very jagged playback. So I'm actually pretty impressed that we're playing back at full resolution right now and getting a somewhat, it's still jagged playback, but it's not bad. Not bad at all. So let's go ahead and render this out and see if our render settings are, or our export is going to match what our preview window looks like here, because this is something I get a lot in Premiere. You will export a colored piece of footage from Premiere. Let's say you did a LUT and you did Lumetri on it. You export it, and the contrast and saturation will be drastically different from what your preview window is looking like in Premiere. And so what I tend to do usually is add a QT compensation LUT on the export settings to get it to match. And I just want to see if we can get this exact same preview exported, and make sure that we're getting the same color across the board from our preview window to our export. Because if those colors aren't matching, what's the point of color grading? We spent all this work doing this color, and if it doesn't match, what was the point? So let's give this an export and see what happens. So for the export settings here, I'm going to do File, Export. I'm just going to export it to my desktop under Edit. For video settings, I'm going to click Match Source, More. I'm going to do Render at Max Depth, use maximum render quality. I'm going to do a VBR 2-pass 25 target, maximum bitrate 25, and then under the Effects tab is typically where you can see I'd add this QT gamma compensation LUT, but I'm actually going to uncheck that because I want to see if, without doing the QT compensation LUT, if we're getting those matching tones. So yeah, let's go ahead and hit export, see what we get here. And here is our preview in QuickTime. And next to that is our clip. So let's bring this back to 0. Okay, so interesting. It does look a little more desaturated on export. If we can see here inside QuickTime, these blue tones in the sky are not quite as dense as the blue tones in our preview window. And we are losing a little bit of contrast right here in the buildings, just in the overall image, I guess. Okay, so we can see that's not quite matching. Let's add the QT compensation LUT and see if that makes a difference, if that's what our issue is here. So I'll go back over to Export, Media. I'm going to keep the same settings here. VBR 2-pass. Let's go down to the Effects tab, and I'm going to click Lumetri LUT. And I'm not sure this is going to work because already in the preview window, we can see that our shadows are way, way darker. But let's give this a try. I'm going to label this QT comp. And let's give this an export. Left side of the screen, we've got the QT comp LUT. And then right side of the screen, we've just got a regular export without the QT comp LUT. And right off the bat, I can see that all these are slightly different. So this one, we're not getting the contrast or saturation that we need. And this one, we're too contrasty. And we're getting a different blue tone and red tone in the sign. So this is tricky. Dehancer, I'd love to know if I'm doing something wrong here. It doesn't quite match, It's especially the sky here. So, well, there you have it. That's my review. I'm kind of at a point right now where I need to figure out these export settings. And Dehancer, I would love to know your thoughts on this. If I'm either setting up the project wrong, or my export settings are wrong, or there's a bug in the plugin, please let me know. And also, if you're interested in purchasing Dehancer, You can click the link in my description for 10% off, and it supports me, supports you. We both kind of have a deal going on here. I absolutely love the plugin for Resolve. I am able to get the same export as I do from my preview window in Resolve to my export. But for Premiere, I'm having some trouble and wondering what's going on here. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.